Good evening and welcome to the courthouse for the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals hybrid meeting for December the 4th, 2024. I would like to call this meeting to order. Director, can we take a roll call?
I'll call the roll. Margaret Clements.
Here.
Skip Daly.
Here.
Pamela Davidson.
Here.
Guy Loftman.
Here.
Dee Owens.
Here.
Okay, so we have 5 members in attendance, 3 in person, 2 online, and a quorum.
All right, very good. Let's go ahead and introduce the evidence, Director.
I'd like to introduce the following items into the evidence: the Monroe County Comprehensive Land Use Plan as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Subdivision Control Ordinance as adopted and amended, the Board of Zoning Appeals Rules of Procedure as adopted and amended, and the cases advertised and scheduled for a hearing on tonight's agenda.
I move that we introduce the evidence as you've just enumerated.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second, Director.
I'll go ahead and call the roll to accept the evidence. Skip Daly.
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Dee Owens.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and on our agenda, we have 1 item of old business and 1 item of new business. Can we have a motion to approve that?
I move that we approve the minutes as so enumerated. Agenda, excuse me.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Vote yes is a vote to approve the agenda. Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Dee Owens.
Yes.
Margaret.
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Right, we have no other minutes to approve. Therefore, let's move on to our administrative business. Director, could we please introduce the memorandum that is dated November the 8th of 2024 for our executive session meeting?
Sure. So included in the BZA packet, you'll see that we have just a summary of the executive session meeting for November 8th, 2024. So we're looking for a roll call vote tonight, and then if approved, we'll get a signature by Margaret Clements, the chairperson.
Right, do we have a motion?
I move we adopt the memorandum of November 8th, 2024 executive session meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the memorandum of the November 8th, 2024 executive session meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals. A vote yes is a vote to adopt the memorandum and authorize the signature of Margaret Clements, the chair. Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Dee Owens.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved 5-0.
All right, moving along, we have a piece of old business on the docket to start things off this evening. It is variance 24-26, Hubley ECO Area 1, variance to Chapter 825. Ms. Crecelius, would you please us with your presentation?
Yes, thank you. So this variance request was heard at the last meeting on November 6th. A motion was made to continue it to this evening, pending more information by the petitioner. Staff has not received any new information from the petitioner. I am well, I am fully able to make another presentation for you this evening, but I would like to state that the petitioner's legal counsel is here, and I am aware that they are wanting to request a continuance. So if you would like to hear from them, it would be up to you. If not, I'd be happy to present.
All right, Mr. Legal Counsel, could you at least state your name for us, please?
Mike Carmen, attorney for petition on variance BR 24-26, Mr. Hubly. What Ann was just referring to from the last meeting, there's a request for more specific information and cooperating, I would say, information on some of the matters that had been asserted. And so that was continued to tonight. A report and analysis has been conducted by an arborist. He calls himself a couple different certifications as an arborist, but that report did not get completed. It's actually dated November 26th, and it's late on filing in terms of getting it into the packet and be able to do it. And I would like to continue the meeting. It's not a lengthy report, a lot of photographs, so it's about 18 pages, but it's worth taking time to read it and make sure, because the downside of doing all this is I think you're going to read this report and keep this in mind on future variances, and you're going to start making conditions of approval based on what you're going to see in this report about tree canopy, for example. But we would like you to have that information in the packet submitted, that you get it some days before the meeting, so you have a chance to read it and digest it a little bit before we have the meeting to make the presentation. And so I'm not aware that we'll be inconveniencing anyone. The people that are here tonight, having taken a poll, I think they'd like to vote yes, so that'll get out of the way. They'd like to get to the next petition, but I'm not aware of anybody who would be inconvenienced, and other than yourselves for having to, one more time, have this appear on a different agenda. But that would be a request. The next meeting will be a week later. I believe it's January 8th, because of the 7th, or the 1st being a holiday, New Year's Day. So
Could you
request to continue to that meeting.
repeat the date that you're wishing?
I believe your next meeting would be January 8th, and we request to continue to that meeting.
Move to grant the continuance to January 8th of the Hubly petition.
May I just ask a quick question?
Yes, are there any questions?
Just a quick question. Staff is a delay waiting for the written arborist report. Any problem whatsoever for any of you?
It's no issue on the staff side.
Okay.
It did have to come to you as a vote, as
Right.
the board of, the rules of procedure allow the petitioner to continue 3 times. They have used those, so it would require a vote.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
I move to grant the request for delay from the Hubly petition and reschedule it for our next meeting, which will presumably
I'll
be on
second.
January 10th.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue the case VAR-24-26, the Hubly Eco Variance to the 12% slope encroachment, to the next Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, which is January 8th, 2024. A vote yes is a vote to continue. Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 5-0.
Thank you for your time. We will see you in 2025.
Ooh. So that is a shock.
All right. Again, moving along. We have some new business. We're going to package variance 24-46A, -46B, and -46C. That's Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. And I would like to turn this over to Mr. Myers for a presentation to indulge us.
All right, this is VAR-24-46A through C. The property is located at 404 West Erie Court. It's in Perry Township, Section 20. And it's listed as Lot 58 of the Southern Meadows Phase 2 subdivision. It's currently zoned medium-density residential and is located in the Monroe County Urbanizing Area Mixed Residential District of the Comprehensive Plan. And the use is single-family residential. The petitioner is requesting 3 design standards variances to permit the construction of a 476 square foot elevated deck after the fact. The deck was constructed without a building permit from the building department or an improvement location permit from the planning department. According to Chapter 804-4E and Chapter 856-37 of the Monroe County zoning ordinance, drainage easements are classified as non-buildable area, and the setbacks for this zoning district are a 5-foot side setback and a 10-foot rear setback. Based on the as-built certified plot plan from Smith Design Group, the deck was constructed in a location that encroaches approximately 10 feet into the platted drainage easement for this lot and encroaches approximately 0.8 feet or 9.6 inches into the required 5-foot side setback. And finally, it also encroaches 10 feet into the required 10-foot rear yard setback, whereas the drainage easement is located. This after-the-fact construction of a deck was spotted through routine site inspections from the stormwater program for the development of the Southern Meadows subdivision. And as such, the placement of the deck within a drainage easement was taken to the Monroe County Drainage Board for review. Ultimately, the Drainage Board decided to approve the construction of the deck in its current location, citing 3 conditions that are on the screen. 1, the deck to be removed at the owner's expense if there is required maintenance with a written commitment. 2, no deck skirting is permitted. It was removed and is now conditioned to not allow the skirting to be replaced at a later date. 3, if there is erosion concerns regarding the swale and the place of this deck, the issue be brought back to the Drainage Board for review. Overall, the Drainage Board concluded that if the above conditions are met in perpetuity, then the deck could remain and not inhibit the flow of stormwater, such is the function of the drainage easement in the rear of the property. Here we have some site photographs. Here's the property in question with the sign out front. And then on the lower right-hand corner is the subject deck. And you can see that you can't see the property lines, obviously, on these pictures, but the far right side of this picture where the deck is located, that is approximately where the rear property line is. And you can kind of see where the melted snow is, a general idea of the width of that drainage easement as it functions, funneling storm water flow through this easement and down into the catchment basin below grade there. More photographs here of the basin as well as the deck. See in the bottom right-hand photograph some of the stormwater infrastructure, the stone there that's operating as part of the drainage easements functions. More photographs here of the location of the deck as it is constructed. And here we have some photometry of the property and the deck in question. Please note that the blue lines depicted here on these images are not always accurate, especially when you orient the images in different directions, but it is to give you an aerial view of how the deck looks on the subject property. All right, now on the screen is the original certified plot plan on the left side, and then the as-built site plan on the right side. It's hard to tell on the screen, so in the next slide I'll be zoomed in, but there is a yellow line or orange line here that extends off of the covered porch towards the rear of the property that indicates it is encroaching into the 10-foot drainage easement and therefore the 10-foot rear yard setback. And then ever so slightly on the left side, or what would be the west, is the encroachment to the side setback. There is a 10% de minimis rule for setback encroachments. However, this portion, the 0.23, does not meet that encroachment threshold because it is encroaching approximately 9.6 inches. On the screen, we have the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals stating their request and acknowledgement of the variance requirements. And also I included the letter from the MS4 coordinator or stormwater program manager as part of the drainage board review. and then some of their materials that they reviewed as well during their meeting about this particular site and the deck here. Okay, that brings me to staff's recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the buildable area drainage easement variance from Chapter 804, citing that the Monroe County Drainage Board approved the location of the deck subject to the following conditions, which are hereby incorporated conditions for this variance request. 1, the deck to be removed at the owner's expense if there is required maintenance with a written agreement. 2, the deck skirting is permitted, removed and conditioned to not allow the skirting to be replaced at a later date. And 3, if there is erosion concerns regarding the swale and the placement of this deck, this issue be brought back to the Drainage Board for review. For variance 24-46B, the Planning Department recommends denial of the side yard setback variance from Chapter 804 due to the following findings, citing from the design standards variance approval, B2, it could promote conditions detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the area. And C, practical difficulties are not met. Had the petitioner submitted the appropriate permit applications with the Planning Department, the side setback could have been accommodated through a redesign of the deck. And then finally, for variance 24-46C, the same application of the standards or design standards variance approval are applicable here. With B2, it could promote conditions detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the area. And C, practical difficulties are not met. Had the petitioner submitted to the appropriate permit applications with the Planning Department, the rear yard setback could have been accommodated through redesign. I will now take any questions.
Right, before I open it up to the rest of the board, I have a quick question for you. I'm trying to just wrap my head around these 3 variance requests being packaged together. Should the board see things the way staff has seen them and approve and separate these and approve the buildable area, but deny the setback variances, then the deck will still have to be removed. However, they could still build something else that would follow the textbook setbacks. Is that correct?
All 3 variances must receive approval in order for the deck to remain in its current configuration. If the side setback or the rear setback variances were denied, the deck could be redesigned or reconstructed. It does not have to just completely be removed and then rebuilt to the standards of the setbacks. It can be remodeled, if you will.
All right. And could you throw the picture back up on there so we can see the deck as it is, and how much of that rear setback, you said 10 feet of that deck is encroaching?
Yes, 10 feet of the deck is encroaching into the rear yard setback, and which is also the 10-foot drainage easement.
Okay. And that deck is approximately 20?
It is 28 feet long.
28. All right.
Also note, just for the record, that since this went to the Drainage Board and received approval for the drainage easement, staff did not feel it was appropriate to override the Drainage Board's recommendation, so that even though the drainage easement's the same 10 feet as the rear yard setback, or the rear yard setback is the planning ordinance, the drainage easement is largely stormwater.
And I just wanted to be clear on that, so when it does come up for discussion, that's a consideration of the board to separate these or not separate these, and there's a rationale to both of those. All right. Are there any other questions from board members?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Following up on Skip's concerns, number 1 is the deck has to be removed if maintenance is required. If we deny B and C, and the solution is then for them to change the shape of the deck, it seems to me that would be equivalent to required maintenance, so that it would, which would itself get rid of the permission to have the deck. I mean, if you rebuild it, that seems to be, equivalent to maintenance. Do you see what I'm getting at?
I think so. In other words, if the rear yard setback variance or the side yard setback variance are denied, the portion of the deck in the 10-foot rear yard setback would have to be removed.
Yeah.
And that would basically make the prior variance and the prior drainage board's review moot, because that portion of the deck is now removed and the drainage easement is free-flowing.
Right, yeah. And where this says the deck to be removed, if there's required maintenance, really might be recast to say the encroaching portion, the portion that encroaches into the drainage would need to be, would be only that portion encroaching into the 10-foot drainage concern would be subject to this condition.
That's my initial understanding, but I am not 100% sure of what the extent of the maintenance work that the stormwater program might need to do, and additional length of the deck might need to be removed for whatever maintenance if it's deemed necessary by the stormwater program.
And my other question has to do with the encroachment. When I look at this, drawing, it looks like it looks like the west edge of the house is in line with the deck, and that the house looks like it's encroaching, the whole house is encroaching into the setback. Is that, I'm only estimating based on that picture, but is it true that the deck, the west side of the deck, is in line with the house?
So if you look at the measurements that I made here on the as-built site plan for the property, it appears that based on the measurements that the house is not directly parallel to the side property line. And you can see that from the first measurement being 0.23 feet away from the western property line, and then the northern measurement with the red arrows is 0.21. So it's not perfectly parallel, so it's staff's understanding that the house is within the setback, but as it continues north, it doesn't follow that parallel line or parallel plane, and eventually the deck, by further extension, does encroach into the side setback.
In fact, part of the encroachment might be within the wiggle room, and it's only the last few feet of it that aren't probably in that wiggle room, right?
Yeah, without having performed a measurement at every instance along the length of the deck, I just picked a measurement point right where it began with the 0.23, and that is certainly encroaching, and then the 0.21 as well.
But would it be within the de minimis? Would the 0.23 be within there was a term you used?
Yes, the 10% de minimis. Yes, that actually is 0.5 feet. So actually the 0.23 marker where the deck begins, that does meet the de minimis regulation. It's the additional measurement in the top of the screen, the 0.21, which is calculates to 4.2 feet, which does exceed that de minimis regulation.
Thank you.
Also note for the record, Kelsey Thatoni, the MS4 coordinator, is online, and she has her hand raised to speak further to the drainage board decision. So.
We can get to that in a moment. One more clarification point, I guess, or perhaps to confuse things more. Would removing that 10 feet from the rear, and we might be putting the cart before the horse here, but would removing that 10 feet from the rear eliminate that portion of the side that is required to have a variance?
No, I don't believe so. I think the measurement is just south of that 10-foot drainage easement line. That's where those arrows are located.
Okay, I just thought with it not being parallel and with it being larger and then smaller, I thought if that's removed, if you might not have to worry about the side.
I see.
Okay. Are there any other questions? How about from our colleagues online? Margaret?
I have no questions.
Dee?
No, you asked my question, Skip. Thank you. But I do want to hear what Kelsey has to say.
All right. I don't know if we should, Director, would you like to hear points of clarification from their expert online?
So Kelsey is a Monroe County staff person in the stormwater program.
I apologize. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is Kelsey Peconia, the Stormwater Program Manager with Monroe County Highway Department. So the Drainage Board decision was made specifically for this deck in this very specific drainage easement. We treat each case individually based on the slope of the land, the size of the easement, the drainage area. And so in this case, there's a lot of elevation change, and they thought it would be appropriate to allow the deck to remain without skirting. The point brought up about maintenance in the drainage easement, Mr. Loftman is correct. We would only require the property owner to remove the encroaching portion of the deck within that 10-foot drainage easement at the owner's expense should maintenance be required. That maintenance, since this is a drainage easement solely in place for conveying surface runoff, it would just require some surface grading, drainage to form that swale to make sure it's draining to the detention pond in a non-erosive manner. The developer has done a lot of work on the swale in particular to make sure that the swale still works with the deck in place. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Right. Do we have any questions of our drainage expert?
My quick question for you, and thank you for joining our call, is so the deck as it's configured still allows excess water to drain into that retention pond because of those three conditions you've imposed. But as of now, it is working, particularly without the skirting, to drain. Is that what you're saying to us?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. They removed the skirting, and that met our condition from the Drainage Board.
Thank you.
All right. With all of that being said, let's invite our petitioners to present their case. Is there somebody here from the Sotomayor party that would like to speak? All right. So the way this will work, you will have a collective 15, that's 15 minutes to speak. Anybody that is going to speak needs to both sign in and then prior to speaking, state their name for the record, and we will have to provide an oath of your testimony. All right. Please speak your name.
My name is Santiago Sotomayor. I'm Fabian's son, and I'm here to help translate mostly. I'm very familiar with the whole situation.
Santiago, and what is your name?
My name is Fabian Sotomayor.
Could you
Fabian Sotomayor?
Mr. Sotomayor?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Sotomayor and Santiago, could you both please raise your right hand? And do you attest that the testimony you are about to give is the truth as you know it? All right. Thank you.
So first of all, it seems like Drew forgot to add a letter that was sent by their next door neighbors to him directly. Yesterday we have a copy. I don't know if he'll like to read it or I can read it off my phone. In response to the variance letter that was sent out by them.
How about we hold off on that, and then at the end of your time, you can present that to the board and we can look at it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the biggest concern is that the easement on the back, that was already approved. That has been approved by the drainage board. We've went through the entire process. My dad was unaware of any permits that needed to be done. They moved to this house about 2 years ago. They lived at a different house for over 15 years where he made all sorts of improvements and never filed for any permit, didn't even know about it. The side easement, I mean, I'm hearing, and when I was looking at the pictures, the deck is right on the line, and 9 inches seems to be incredible to request a thousands of dollars project to be removed over 9 inches when we have a letter from the next door neighbor not having any issues. On the other side of their house, their neighbors, there is a fence and a pool that has been built, definitely encroaching the 10 feet from the drainage. And so it just seems that it's a little bit of a, how is stuff being looked at when a pool and a whole fence is being built and a deck that lets water go through with no issues, being asked to be removed on the back, and then 9 inches on the side where, I mean, he even said it's less than that for part of it. We're just, trying to figure out, how that makes sense once it was approved. I think it was a year ago by the Drainage Commission. And I think the only reason that all this is happening too is just because it's a new build subdivision. And there might be other issues around the neighborhood that are prompting all this. So. That's basically it. Is there any questions you have for us?
Yeah, why don't you stick around for a moment? Do you have?
Well, there are three. There's the setbacks as well. There's the drainage issue, and we're all concerned about drainage in this county. That's for darn sure. But there's setback as well. So it's 3 different issues on the table.
But the neighbor is there, and they have a pool and a fence. I mean, the line goes right across, so it's way past the line. He actually has 2 fences and a pool. It's just kind of hard to see how this.
Could you clarify something for me? This is new construction of a home?
Yes, they built a house. They moved there February of last year, of 20. So they haven't even been there for 2 years.
Okay. February of 23, the home was built.
That's when they moved in. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
when the
no
home
plans
finished.
for a deck at that time.
No,
All right.
not at that time.
And Mr. Sotomayor built the deck himself.
Correct.
As he has, I'm just trying to understand, as he
Yes.
has experience doing and has
Yes.
done.
They lived at the Highlands for, I want to say, about 18 years, and yeah, a lot of improvements there.
All right. And the deck was built without a permit, and you said without realization that one was required.
Correct.
All right. But you did, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I guess I'm asking questions. So could you explain, you went to the drainage board first? How did that happen?
They received a letter stating that the deck was on the drainage easement, and we had to do an appeal. So at that point is when we started to look around, ask people, and we kind of started to do things almost backwards. At that point is when we started to submit, for the appeal, for permits and all that. So it was something that, it was alerted to them by the drainage board.
Okay, so, and then the drainage board told you that it's also in violation of the easement standards, or the setback standards, rather?
I believe so. Well, I don't remember that.
Okay,
part.
so it was built prior to any communication from the county? Okay.
Correct.
I have a follow-up question. It's great to have all this skill set. If the deck were required to be shortened, I assumed you would be doing the work yourself because you built it.
Yeah.
How difficult would that be?
This is hard for one person. But I make the same for 2x4s, 2x8, and everything is put in a good quality.
Do you mind if I translate your question really
Yeah,
quick?
yes.
Dice que si es que te toca. ¿Qué tan difícil?
It's very hard. It's the concrete. I use it in the 4x4. I use it concrete in the ground.
The posts are sunk into concrete right there at the end.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
And I make the deck. Sorry for you see the deck.
Yes.
Here is too high. It's very dangerous.
We're going to have you.
No, sorry.
Could you speak in front of the microphone, please?
Yeah, you see the picture. It is too high for the concrete for the deck, and it is very high. It is very dangerous. And the left side it is 2 feet high. It's a problem for coming go down. This is the reason for make the deck. Now it says go straight every day, and coming for the other side, it is put the step and coming go down. But for the drain, it is coming. You see the deck is the drain is coming this way. This is not coming go straight.
Yes.
For my neighborhood, have it the fence is the drain is here. Is maybe half there, in the other side too. This is the reason. I don't understand what is the reason for problem for my deck. It's no problem for the pool and the fence.
Well, we cannot address your neighbor's situation in this.
Yeah.
I understand being frustrated, but we cannot address it. We're addressing your situation.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do want to just add, just for the record, and so that the Sotomayors know that we're not treating anyone any differently. There have been fences put in the drainage easements in this subdivision. Kelsey's been very quick to try and send letters to those folks. We did get a permit for the pool. Fences actually, per the ordinance, are allowed to encroach into the setbacks, so that's why they're not held to the BZA standard. As for the drainage easement portion, that's something that I think the stormwater program would first deal with. I don't know if Kelsey has any information. I know she was looking closely at that pool permit when it came in, but I don't know if she wants to add anything to that. And then the support letter, we apologize. That went to Drew's junk mail accidentally, so it was not an intentional omission, and he's here to pull it up for you too.
I can read it into the record when the time comes.
Thank you. Well, do we have any other questions while we have the Sotomayors on the microphone? We have a couple folks online.
I have none.
Nothing?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'm going to ask you guys to take a seat briefly while we go through the... Oh.
Did the elder Mr. Sotomayor sign?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please have a seat, and we have to go through this process of asking if there's anybody that wishes to speak for or against this. Is there anybody, either online or in the room, that wishes to speak on behalf of this petition?
I can take this opportunity to read the support letter I received in my junk mail folder at this time.
That would be great. Thank you.
This is from George, William, and Sharon Gates, who reside at 406 West Erie Court. The email says, Drew, thank you so much for speaking with me and explaining the subject variance for 404 West Erie Court at your offices earlier today. I live next door at 406 West Erie Court just west of the subject variance, and I'm writing to express my full support for the subject variance and have no complaints whatsoever. I believe the deck, as built by my friends and neighbors, does no harm and is pleasant, and is a pleasant addition to the neighborhood. That's it. End.
Thank you for that. All right, at this point, is there anybody online or in the room that wishes to speak against, in opposition to this petition? And seeing no one. All right, at this point, let's open this up for any questions that the board may have of staff. All right, now let's open this up for board discussion.
I think Margaret has a question.
Yeah, it's not a question, it's for discussion, as Skip has so nicely organized the meeting. If I'm recognized, I'll speak.
You are recognized.
Thank you. So I'm in favor of approving this. I think that they've worked well with staff and with Ms. Thetonia, and measures have been taken to respond should problems arise. And I really think that this is a nice example of collaboration and cooperation. So I think that I would be in favor of approving the variances.
Thank you. I also see that Dee has her hand raised.
Thank you, Skip. Yeah, I would agree with Margaret on that exactly. I think that this is not an egregious example of something hanging out. And if the drainage said it was all right, to me, that's the major concern right there, is having that area with water run underneath. If they're okay with it, I was glad to hear about the concrete anchors, then I'm okay with it.
I disagree. The drainage easement per se, I think I don't want to go against what the drainage board says here, but and the side yard setback, extending the deck straight back in line with the house is, you know, you're not going to get a surveyor in and make sure that, you know, I find that not quite as de minimis as the statute, as the ordinance says, but close enough that I support the side yard setback. But, you know, neighbors, a lot of people wish they could ignore setback rules. Neighbors would be glad to ignore the setback rule and put their deck into it, quite possibly. I don't see any justification for saying you did it, so we don't care. To me, it was done, and I do care. I do care that our ordinances are uniformly enforced. If we say it's okay in this one, and then planning in there, this is a fairly new subdivision, and people are obviously putting in whatever they want without checking with the planning department, and I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't see any justification for. And it sounds like Mr. Sotomayor has a history of do-it-yourself projects that he doesn't get planning permission for, but that doesn't create, in my mind, a license to keep doing that. I think I think there should be integrity in the enforcement of the 10-foot encroachment in the back. So I support A and B, but I will oppose C.
That would mean that the deck would have to be shortened.
Yes, I understand.
And it would then be out of alignment with the house and the concrete footers and all those things. They would still be sunk in the yard because they are there. I understand that people, I live out in the county, people do things without permits all the time, think it's completely fine. So you're right, ignorance of the law is no excuse. We both know that, yes, indeed. But they're asking for a variance, they're asking for permission to change out their own personal circumstance.
Well, my feeling is if this had come to us before they did it, I would vote no. Yeah. And if it comes to me after they did it, I'm still going to vote no. And I'm sorry about it, the wasted effort and concrete and how it might be redesigned appropriately. I don't know. I mean, that was a little confusing in the presentation, but I think the time to seek a variance would have been before building it. And if they had, I would have voted no. And I'm going to still vote no. I'm sorry, but that's the only way we can maintain the integrity. If we routinely grant permission to do what people have already done, then there's no motivation to come get permission in advance. And I think I'm going to back the integrity of the ordinance on the 10-foot. The side I'm not concerned with. I think that's completely understandable and forgivable.
All right. I think that concludes our board discussion. And I would like to ask if any board members would like to proceed with a motion.
Well, sure. I'll move to grant variance 2446A and 2446B, and to deny variance 2446.
Point of order. You can't make a motion to approve some things and deny other things. You can make a motion to separate and go line item by line item.
Okay, I'm glad to do that. I move that we separate these and go line item by line item. And so I move to approve variance 2446A, buildable area, in light of the Drainage Board's approval of that and my confidence that that's not a problem.
Is that with the conditions set forth?
With the conditions set forth by the Drainage Board as in the recommendation of staff.
And is that also because you have determined that that fits the criterion that we're held to?
Yes, it does.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve VAR-24-46A, which is the buildable area drainage easement encroachment requirement from Chapter 804. A vote yes is to approve only 24-46A. Skip Daly.
Before I vote, I would also like to just clarify to the entire board that voting for this does not mean you do not want all of them. It's just they're separated now. They're going to go piece by piece. I just want to be clear. Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Dee Owens.
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 5-0.
All right, so that is one of our variance requests. Are there motions on any other of the variance requests?
Well, I'll go ahead and move approval of variance 24-46B, the side yard setback variance, on the grounds that while it doesn't meet the strict ordinance definition of de minimis variation, it is in line with the house and an understandable and minimal violation, it won't impair the general welfare of the community and meets the conditions of 812-6.
Right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-24-46B, which is the side yard setback requirement to Chapter 804. A vote yes is to approve only VAR-24-46B, side yard setback. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries 5-0.
And following up with my starting position, I will move to deny variance 24-46C, the rear setback variance from Chapter 804, on the basis that it would have been, if they designed it, they redesigned it before they built it, they would have been able to have a nice deck there without encroaching in the setback variance. And I think people need to respect the planning process of which we are a part.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second on that motion? Hearing nothing, is there any other motion that is going to be raised?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that on variance 24-46C, the rear yard setback, Chapter 804, that is approved. That's it.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-24-46C, which is the rear yard setback requirement to Chapter 804. A vote yes is a vote to approve the rear yard setback variance request. Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Not convinced that this either does or does not fall under criterion C. I'm going to abstain.
Guy Loftman,
No.
Dee Owens.
Yes.
So the motion is approved 3-1-1.
Sotomayor's, congratulations. And make sure that you're in good communication, not only with the planning department, but with the sewer department. There are conditions with this, so please also know moving forward that when you use your incredible handy skills that contact the building department, the planning department, everybody, ask what has to happen moving forward. Verbose lesson to be learned, but lesson learned. Congratulations, have a good evening. And I don't see anything else on the agenda. Director, do you have anything else for us before I request an adjournment?
Just a quick announcement that we have 2 planners that passed their AICP tests, and they both presented before you. So Drew Myers and Ann Crecelius are AICP candidates, and they took a very difficult test right before Thanksgiving, and they passed. So
Fantastic news.
Congratulations. That is really
I
great.
do
All the
have-
best.
I do
Congratulations.
have an item of
Ms. Lofton.
the minutes we approved included approval. Excuse me. The agenda we approved included approval of 4 sets of minutes. And I don't, we skipped over that, and is there a reason we don't want to consider those tonight?
Thank you. The agenda was revised from when you had seen it to an approval of no minutes.
Well, if it just kept up to date, I would save a lot of hot air, wouldn't I? Mine.
Is that right? We don't need to approve those minutes tonight?
They don't need to be approved tonight, but the next meeting is January 8th, so a week after when it normally is, the second Wednesday due to the holiday.
Yes.
And we will have a list of minutes for you to review at that meeting.
All right.
So,
Sounds like a plan. Thank
right,
you.
Thank you. I don't have any other reports.
All right, can we have a request for an adjournment here?
Oh, I move we adjourn.
All right, so done.
Thanks, Skip.
Thank you.